Andrew Godsmith here, Godsmith of Chaos, here with an Exodia Millennium deck profile. The best Exodia deck profile. Reason why I say that is because I've been playing this for the last couple months, and every single time I go to locals, I have not gotten worse than 2 wins, 2 losses. I have won one tournament. I have topped almost 50% of the tournaments that I went into with this. It's been pretty good. So before I get to it, don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe to my channel so I can keep making these awesome videos. Anyways, may the heart forever be in our cards. Love you all, and let's get to this deck profile.
You truly want to know? Open your mind!
Obviously, when you're playing Exodia, you have to play Exodia. So we have 5 pieces to Exodia. We got the head, the right arm, the right leg, the left leg, and the right arm. Now, when you're playing Exodia in the New Ages, it's Millennium archetype. It's not the Exodia archetype, it's Millennium archetype. So when you're playing Millennium, you must play 3 Millennium Ankh. No less. It's your main card. This card is the main card that you need to get out to get to your main boss monster. If you can't get to this card, and if you can't resolve this card, unfortunately, our deck, that's a big flaw for our deck. But it very rarely gets negated because there's only one card out there that can really negate this card. Next, we play 3 Heart of the Blue Eyes. This is your main monster that searches out your Ankh for free. The only searcher that does it for free, well, with this card. So this card also plays under Shifter, but you can't use its other effects while under Shifter because it'll be banished. What you got to do is you just discard that card to the graveyard to search for Ankh. You get Ankh to your hand, bing, bang, boom. You can get to your Exodia and obliterate your opponents. So, Heart of the Blue Eyes, your main monster that you want to discard to get to Ankh. While it's in the graveyard, when you successfully resolve Ankh, you can send one of your opponent's monsters to the graveyard that has 3,000 attack or more, or level 8. Then, if you do, you can special summon this monster, and as well, if your opponent has talents, they can't do anything about this card, so it stays on the field because it can't be removed by being taken by your opponent. It can be destroyed, but it just can't be taken to their side of the field. Next is another Ankh Searcher. This is Shield of Millennium Dynasty. This monster, or Shield, searches for Ankh as well, but the only thing is you have to pay 2,000 life points to summon it. But a good thing is you can place it in the spell or trap zone. Then you pay the 2,000 life points when summoned, and on summon it searches. So when it searches, yes, it can be stopped by Ash, but it can't be impermed, it can't be veilered, it can't be mournered. It just searches for the card once it's summoned. So as long as you don't get ashed, you get Ankh. Next one, Sangan Wakes from a Millennia. This guy is one that carries your Millennium pieces. It's another 1-card starter. It gets you into Heart of the Blue Eyes or Heart of the Shield, but you gotta pay another 2,000 life points unless you have Ankh in hand. Same with this one. If you have Ankh in hand, both Shield and Sangan can be summoned for free by revealing Ankh in hand. Next, I only play 1 of. Some people play 2 of, but it's Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. What this monster does is it searches you out Wedju Temple, which is the field spell to this deck. And then what Wedju Temple does, it could place 2 cards in the spell and trap zone, 1 from your hand face up, and then 1 from the deck. Another great card that is really hard to negate because it just places a card face up in your spell and trap zone from your hand and from your deck. So it can't be ashed as well. Next, we're getting into all the hand traps. That's it for the Millennium monsters. Next, it's hand traps. First, this is a must to play in the deck. Now, coming into the new format with Raziel, I might not play Shifter in my main deck. I might side it, but I also might keep it in my main deck just because it's still good against all the other decks. Obviously, you know what Shifter does. If you put Shifter in the graveyard, if you're able to discard it, every card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Really helps you against your opponent, wins you games. Some people say it's what carries this deck, but when I won the other day, I only used Shifter once, and it didn't even really help. Anyways, next mandatory hand trap I find in this deck, is Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Now, is it that great of a hand trap? No. But in this deck, it's amazing. Reason being is because with Exodia the Unstoppable Incarnate, his attack points is your life points. And if your opponent special summons a lot of monsters, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is what gives you a bigger attack. So by the end, it's how you summon your monsters. So if you got 30,000 life points, who cares if you spend 2,000 or 4,000 or 8,000 or 6,000 to be able to special summon out all your monsters? It doesn't really matter if you're using Ghostwood. Also, when you use Ghost Sister, sometimes your opponents just skip anyways because they don't want you gaining all these life points. So yeah, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood I find is a must in this deck. Can you side it out? Yeah, like going second and stuff. If you're going first against your opponent, you might as well side it out because you're going first. Now, it can be helpful, but might as well side it in for a negate or a board breaker or something. Game 3, side it in because who knows if time comes and this could help you with higher life points. I once had it that in a match, I had this, it went into time, but because I chained it to one of their card activations, they had to finish the card activation, and to be able to finish the chain for time to stop, they had to summon a monster, and when they summoned that monster, they ended up giving me life points, but unfortunately I still lost, but I only lost by 100 life points. It was an intense time. Now, for another hand trap that you could probably side out for another card is Ash Blossom. Yes, it's very useful. Yes, it's very helpful in this deck, but lately, every deck just seems to be able to work around it. You Ash one of their monsters, and if you don't Ash the correct monster, you're screwed and you've just wasted an Ash. So this card can be taken out if you can think of another better target to use. I personally, it did come in handy, but I don't really need it in this deck. It's Ash. Next, this card really helped out, and it's really helping out this format as well. Droll and Lockboard. For obvious reasons, when they add a card to their hand on resolutions, you Droll and Lockbird, and then they can't add any more to the hand. Neither can you, but during your opponent's turn, you're not adding any cards to the hand anyways. You're only going to be setting to the field from your deck. Another hand trap, only play at 1 because it's only at 1, is Bastille Magnahut. Play this because it searches out your Heart of the Blue Eyes. If you're going second and your opponent has a monster in the field and in the graveyard, use this to get rid of them. So like Fiendsmith, anything like that, this card is very good for it. Pretty much, if you're going second, almost guarantees you getting to your Ankh because it searches for Heart of the Blue Eyes. And yeah, last but not least, 3 Imperm. Wonderful card, awesome card, plays around talents for obvious reasons. It's just another monster negate on field and in hand, and it's also not once per turn. Must play in most decks. Another card, not really a hand trap, but it is an interruption, Called by the Grave. Great for going against opponents that need the graveyard a lot. Yeah. And then the field spell, 3 Wedju Temple, back to Millennium cards. 3 Wedju Temple, like I was saying before, this is the field spell to the deck. Wedju Temple, what it does, I'll explain again. Places a monster from your hand in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. Then you can place another monster from your deck as a continuous spell, doing the same thing, getting you around Ash, getting you around Valor, getting you around Imperm. Great card. But it is stoppable, I think, by Dominus Purge or Impulse. I can't remember. I think it's, yeah. But yeah, Wedju Temple, great card. Another 1-card starter, sort of 1.5 because you need a monster in hand. Next, I play 1 Secret Village of the Spellcasters. I might bump that up to 2, but right now I'm just playing it at 1. Then we got the 1 Terraforming to search out Wedju Temple and secrets, and the 1 Set Rotation to do pretty much the same thing, except for Set Rotation is also a removal. If you're going second and your opponent has a field spell on board, it removes their field spell. Also, it can act as a floodgate. So when you use Set Rotation and you flip your field spell face up and theirs is face down, they can't activate another field spell or set another field spell on top of that one or remove it because set rotation doesn't allow it. Once there's a set field spell on the field and there's only one left, you can't activate another field spell or set another field spell. Yeah. Set 2 field spells with different names from your deck on the field in your hand, blah, blah, blah. While either of those cards remains set on the field, neither player can activate or set other field spells. Bam. And last but not least, for the last little bit of the Millennium cards, your win condition with this deck is going first, Exod Fires of Rage. During your end phase, if you are going first, you set Exod Fires of Rage. It is a board wipe for your opponent, and it just completely clears their board. Now, during your opponent's end phase, though, coming back to your turn, you will set Obliterate Blaze. I wish these two came in Quarter Century Rare as well. That'd be really awesome, maybe in the future. But Obliterate Blaze, you activate it on your turn only during the main phase, because if you don't do it during your main phase, you don't get the effect, because it gives Exodia the effect. It itself doesn't have the effect. So when it resolves, it then triggers your Exodia to activate its effect to take on the effect of Obliterate Blaze. Then you can set the 5 pieces of Exodia in your spell and trap zone, giving your Exodia incarnate 2,000 attack points for each monster for a total of 10,000 attack points. Now, I find that pretty darn cool, because when it comes back to your turn, you're going to attack with 10,000 plus attack. Most monsters your opponent has isn't going to survive that. Plus, it does piercing battle damage. So if your opponent has a monster face down defense position or in defense position, doesn't matter. You're going to kill him anyways. Now, for the last card in the deck, Angel Statue Azaroon. For obvious reasons, this card is awesome going against any Xyz deck, any Synchro deck, and any Link deck. Why? Because if they were to Xyz summon, Angel Statue. If they were to Synchro summon, Angel Statue. If they're going to Link summon, Angel Statue. It stops them. Plus, during the battle phase, if an opponent attacks this monster, it destroys the monster that attacks it. So, an awesome card to have in this deck. That's it for the main deck. Let's get on over to the extra deck. For the extra deck, you don't really need too much out of it, but there is some strategies that I do use in this deck that I do have pretty much some fun with. There are a couple cards in this deck that you can totally remove because I'm not playing the cards at the time. I just didn't bother replacing them because I didn't need them. So, of course, 3 Exodia, the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. For obvious reasons, it's your main monster that you want to get out. It's your win condition. 1 Millenniumize Restrict. 1 Millenniumize Restrict. This you're able to get on the field if you have Effect Veiler in your deck or a level 1 tuner. You can get into Muddy Mud Dragon, then Muddy Mud Dragon plus another monster gets you into Millenniumize Restrict, which is just another interruption. Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Wonderful. Obvious. Super Poly target. Garura Wings of Resonant Life. Another Super Poly target. Link Spider and Relinquished Enema. These two I use as a combo. So what happens when I brick and I have 2 limbs stuck in my hand? I will normal summon a limb. Make sure it's an arm or a leg, not the head. Then you Link Spider. And then Relinquished Enema. Link Spider can summon the other limb, the other level 1 limb, and then Relinquish Enema. These two then can get you into like Silhouette Rabbit, SP Little Knight, or up into the Dark Climb. Yeah. So these two, Link Spider and Relinquish Enema, I have found come in very useful in this deck. Silhouette Rabbit to search for Azaroon. Wonderful, wonderful card. Pretty much a must in this deck. You see this hop in and out of your extra deck. It just gets shuffled back. You only need to play 1. SP Little Knight. When you brick and shit happens and you need to go into something that is a little bit of an interruption, that can help you a little bit. Dark to Dark Charmer. I actually used this the other day. If you watch my previous video, this actually got me a win. I got it in the dark and dark into Selene, Selene into access code, removing my opponent's field, and then I was able to send. I discarded Heart of the Blue Eyes to get Ankh, and they quit. Yeah. So dark, Selene, and access code, Muddy Mud Dragon to get into the relinquished Thousand Millennium Eyes Restrict because it's a Millennium monster, and then of course Superstar Slayer Typhon. If you go second and you brick and you just have like a limb in hand, or you just have a monster that you can normal summon, you normal summon that monster, go into Superstar Slayer. It's not the best, but when it's the only thing you got, it can work. That is it for the extra deck. On to the side deck. Now, depending on your locals, this is going to look different. It changes pretty much every week. I keep it similar just because Exodia best deck, and I don't really need to change it up too much. I really like how it goes, especially for this format. It seems to work. Small Charmy Perulia at 3. Got 3 Regeki. 3 Deck Lockdown. 3 Dimensional Barrier. And 3 Super Poly. Now I'll break down the reasonings for each. Super Poly, going first or second. If you know your opponent plays a lot of freaking monsters and summons a lot and has a lot of monsters on the field that are the same type and attribute, Super Poly, absolutely a must in this deck. Dimensional Barrier, obviously for going first since it's a trap. This card stops your opponents from fusion summoning, XZ summoning, link summoning, you know, the awesome stuff. But not link summoning, sorry. Pendulum summoning, synchro summoning, fusion summoning, and ritual summoning, and XZ summoning, but not link summoning. So going against Drytron, stuff like that, it works wonderful because of rituals. Going against the Raziel deck in the next format, Dimensional Barrier with this deck, especially because of a fusion, is awesome because it stops them from XZ's summoning. So Dimensional Barrier, highly recommend. Deck Lockdown, I've played this for the last couple years. One of my favorite cards to play in the deck. It's kind of like a pseudo draw and lock bird that you can play on your own turn, and it locks them out for multiple turns. Yes, it locked yourself out, but with this deck, you don't really need to search too much. Because a lot of the time, especially with Leju Temple, it just goes right straight to the field. Yeah. And then Regeki, for when your opponent has a lot of monsters, and they don't have recurgence with the graveyard, so you just destroy them. Not once per turn either, so if you get 2 Regekis, bam. Also, Malcharmy Perulia. I haven't got the Fualos yet. I might not pick it up. I have Perulia, and I might get the one that's with the graveyard. I kind of like that one. But 3 Perulia to draw cards when your opponent summons. Yeah. Anyways, that's it for my deck. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to comment down below and subscribe and hit that notification button. It helps out the channel, helps me out. Love you all. Thank you all for watching this video. Cheers.